on my back porch, you know that I'm about to do a garden tour. So this is my July garden tour. I was going to do one toward the end of June, but I didn't because everything's stunted, as you will see. This one is going to be a little different, and I'll tell you why. This year has been super dry, everything is super stunted and super behind, and I'm considering buying some drip tape next year because I don't like to do these luxury purchases in the summer. So maybe over the winter I'll buy some drip tape. I'm thinking about how I can irrigate it using drip tape. So I'm going to share some of that as I show you around the garden and my crispy lawn, which I don't care if the lawn's crispy because then I don't have to mow it, but the garden, yeah, it's a little different. So it's a little after 6. I just realized I haven't had supper yet. I measured my garden because I was curious about the feasibility of the drip tape. It turns out it's about 19 feet wide and 30 feet long. So starts back there kind of in front of the composter. I actually started between the stumps. And then up there the tomatoes are the last bed. And I hoped to put one more bed into the south, but it just didn't happen because the soil is so hard and so dry here. And you'll notice that the normal lawn grass is nice and brown and crispy and not growing. I don't know if I've mentioned, but those 2 stumps, that's how wide the garden was when I started, and I've expanded it since then, all by hand. So those of you who wondered about my shoulder, yeah. Well, with the sun where it is, I'm going to start on the west side of the garden. I'm getting weird effects from the light shining on the lens. So here I do have plants in a barrel. The barrel's honestly not something I would have bought. They came with the house, so they're there. I might as well use them. Here is kohlrabi that I bought, regular plants, but around it you'll notice bare dirt. I think my mistake was, usually I don't need to mulch when I have seeds, but this year I did. Seeds just didn't come up. There was supposed to be the second crop of kohlrabi there. Didn't come up. These seeds, which I did, oh, I'll try this. And the neighbor's house is shading it a bit. But these seeds, which I did put in, I also mulched slightly. And they're starting to come up, but they're behind from where they should be. I have my carrots and beets and Swiss chard. And some of it's up, some of it is not. It's a little behind, but then everything is. Some rabbit damage. That was a melon. Or no, that was an okra. Okra. In fact, the rabbits seem to like okra. Composter. This is my kale bed. The kale is very stunted. Beyond that, some mint. Cilantro, which is already flowering. A cucumber, which once I put in a stick so I could mark its center for watering purposes. Seems to want to climb the stick. And then beyond that, some parsley. Compost pile, which is, I'm giving up as a failure. I think it's just so dry here, it takes too long to compost. It's not like the East Coast where I grew up. You know, I've tried dumping dehumidifier water on it, and it's just not enough moisture. Even in the bin composters, it's slow. And sometimes I have to add water, especially in a summer like this. Like yesterday, it got to 103 degrees. Now here is a cute little cantaloupe that's actually alive. I think that's a weed beyond it, so I'll pull that later. Here is, I can't remember if that's a cantaloupe or if that's one of the cucumbers I put in at the last minute. And then I have some cabbage plants. I don't remember which is which. Some of these are Brussels sprouts, some of these are broccoli, some of these are cauliflower. I think the cauliflower are all at one end so that I can, you know, dig up the area after they do their thing. Here is another okra plant. Like I said, the rabbits liked okra this year. This was supposed to be a spinach bed, and I think my mistake this year, this is the year it really, really needed to be mulched. Because there's nothing. Nothing came up. You can see some hoof prints from the deer. I think, you know, maybe I'm unfairly blaming the rabbits. Maybe it's the deer. I'll show you a little something else here. You might see the tall grass. I haven't had to mow, But with my mower I get these seed heads. If the grass is above a certain height, I just can't cut it. And I've got a couple seed heads like that coming up, because it's been weeks since I've mowed. But the seed heads are coming up, so I might have to come out with the machete and deal with a few of them. Here, asparagus. Over there, eggplant. So asparagus will be a thing. Rhubarb, which I guess I need to pull off some flowers. Watermelon, before I knew it was going to be such a dry year. Actually, it's doing well though. More eggplant, which I like. Another watermelon. Another cucumber, and what's called a mosquito plant. Now down this bed I put 2 zucchini at the front. They're starting to go, but they're behind what they would have been last year. Then I planted 2 rows of beans behind them, and then peppers in 2 rows. And that's not fully composted compost laying there. I may spread more of it on these beds just to mulch them better. Maybe it'll compost if it's in the soil. And then this bed is tomatoes and marigolds, and I had one leftover petunia that's supposed to spread, but I think it's too dry for him. I actually have picked a few tomatoes, which is scary because it's too early. Cherry tomatoes, of course. So what I'm thinking about doing, oh, you can see the back of my house there. What I'm thinking about doing, and yeah, you can see some more grass blades. Spit it out there, squirrel. What I'm thinking about doing is putting drip tape, maybe 2 lines. I have to figure out how it works. 1 down each row. And I've found a kit that'll cover this garden. It actually would cover the garden if it was 50 feet wide. So I may abandon this idea of expanding it to the south here and just expand it toward the house instead and fix this mess, which was going to be dug up this year and has not happened. So yeah, maybe I'll try and fix this mess. And here I attempted, this is a spot I had sort of cleaned up last fall. Obviously it's grown in since then. Put a watermelon because I had an extra watermelon left over. It's working. Here is a cantaloupe. I put some newspaper on it just to shade the weeds around it as an experiment to see how it would work. It does funnel the water toward it, but it's stunted. Some marigolds. I cut down a tree because it was mostly dead, but it's still putting up little roots, or not roots, little seedlings, so I have to cut them off. Not seedlings, what would you call them? Off the roots anyway. And here, petunias that are supposed to spread over the edge and another marigold. So we'll go to the south side of the house, another disaster. Those I inherited with the house, and they actually function. Here I've tried to get stuff to grow. They're growing this year, sorta, but nobody's happy. And I have a bunch of plants here that died. So I'm wondering if I just want to put some perennials in here next year and forget trying to grow anything here. North side of the house. Again, everything is very stunted. I have some dianthus. I don't always remember the names of flowers, sorry. They're doing okay, but definitely not amazing. And then behind them is a bunch of flowers that came with the house, and some hollyhocks. Not growing to real great heights like they have some years. Some years I've been able to see them through the living room window. I don't think that's going to happen this year. Just saying. The north bed is mostly my mother's project. I don't know exactly what she put in here, but whatever those are. Some other things. Those I recognize, those are hollyhocks. The soil must be a little better here because that's almost up to the bedroom window. Won't see it through the bedroom window, but it's at that height. And that one is a really dark red, but you can't tell in this light. And more stuff. The little stepping stones actually came from out front of the house in a random spot, and I just decided they would go there when I water. The soil probably looks really dry. I've been doing spot watering rather than watering the bed in general, just because so dry. So I try and give each plant a good soak and then move on to the next one. But I think the drip irrigation might be better because it would be even slower, and but it would still give them a good soak if you wait long enough. This poor tree actually came from here. My parents dug it up in the yard, took it home to Pennsylvania to grow for a year or two. Came back. It's not happy because beyond it you can see a much greener one that came up naturally. So make of that what you will. Now I think I would need a separate drip irrigation system for the front beds, those two by the house and this one. But I think I could do it. I was looking at some hose splitters and such. So I put a row of beans on the outside. There's another row of beans down the middle, and on the other side is some flower things. There's some of them are daisy type things, and some of them are supposed to spread. I'll give you a close-up in a minute. That's a daisy thing, whatever it is. This is supposed to spread. Let's go to the end one that actually has some flowers. See? When it finally starts spreading. And this mulch, it's grass. It came from my neighbor. He, has a nice lawn. And if I dig down, you can't tell from the light, but it's damp. The grass does do a good job holding the moisture in. And that's why I think I should have mulched, or I planted the seeds. And you need to mulch here. I need to find some mulch. He put some weed killer on his lawn, so I'm not getting grass clippings for now, but I need some mulch there. The southern bed, chives that keep coming up, so good for them. And then just for experimental purposes, I put another watermelon there. That is a cantaloupe, I think, or else a cucumber, I can't remember. And then petunias that are supposed to spread, so the sticks are so I can remember where the center of the plant is for watering purposes. Up the middle I put zucchini. Actually, at the same time I put the zucchini out back, but you can tell they're struggling. And then I put a row of radishes close to the house because I figured they'd be done by the time the zucchini got big. Well, that clearly didn't happen, but it's been so dry this spring. And then basil up toward the tree there. So, all in all, it's been a disappointing gardening year. You get those. What I'm thankful for is whether it rains or not, I get paid the same. I may have to buy more fresh vegetables at the grocery store rather than pick them, but it's not like I'm a farmer depending on this for my income. So, yeah, I guess this is a good year not to be a farmer. So, yeah, no message other than that. It's just kind of fun to walk around the garden once in a while.